Working in confined spaces. There are times on the job you may have to enter a confined space and you need to be aware of the hazards like engulfment or hazardous atmosphere like one without enough oxygen. A confined space is any space or structure which by design has limited openings for entry and exit and is not intended for continuous occupancy. Meaning, you won't be in this location as part of your permanent day-to-day work activities. It's temporary. For example, chutes, hoppers, screen decks, ductwork, tunnels, and manholes are all considered a confined workspace. All facilities should be evaluated to identify all permit-required confined spaces. A supervisor must inform employees of the confined spaces and their dangers. They must also post warning signs and take measures to prevent unauthorized employees from entering permit-required spaces. If permit-required spaces exist, the supervisor must develop and implement a written permit space program. This written program must be available for inspection by employees and their authorized representatives. Let's take a look at what makes something a confined space and then see what tasks may require you to enter such a space. A confined space that has one or more of the following characteristics is a permit-required confined space. A confined space that has a hazardous atmosphere or has the potential to have a hazardous atmosphere. For example, this could occur when welding in a confined space. A confined space that contains material with potential to overtake or suffocate an individual. For example, a chute or bin containing material where a worker could become engulfed. A confined space that has an internal structure that could trap an individual. For example, a chute or bin with walls that slope down and taper to a smaller area. And lastly, a confined space that has any other serious hazards like a chemical or fall hazard. The most important critical control when considering entering a confined space is ensuring that a confined space entry permit is done accurately and thoroughly. Let's take a look at the key aspects of a confined space entry permit and why taking the time to complete one is so critical. It's important to outline not only the details of the job before entering and working a confined space, but also the purpose of entering it in the first place. Consider, is there another way to complete the job that won't require entry? Look over all job details with your supervisor. Conduct a pre-entry meeting and verify training of entrance. Have a supervisor identify and verify authorized entrance and sign off on entry access. Monitor the atmosphere where entry and work will occur. Check that levels of oxygen are adequate and for a toxic or explosive atmosphere. All gases must fall within acceptable ranges. Make sure everyone knows how and when team members will communicate during the task and what equipment will be used. This also includes everyone knowing the emergency communication system. Ensure the area is appropriately prepared for entry, including signage, completing the permit, and being prepared if a rescue is necessary. Wear proper PPE, including respiratory protection. Thoroughly inspect your PPE for wear and tear and damage to make sure it is in good condition prior to entry. Once a supervisor signs and completes the confined space entry permit, certifying it is safe for entry, you can enter and begin your work. Thank you for taking time to understand the high-risk tasks and critical controls when working in confined spaces. It's important you remember them as you work on any property.